Film Festival, and we are talking about the short film Fior di Fossa. They have told me so many times how to pronounce this name correctly. I'm still butchering it, so I will have one of these lovely ladies say it correctly for me. Can one of you say the film name?
It's Fior di Fossa.
Fior di
You got
Fossa.
it in
She
the
says it so
end.
much better
You
than
did.
me.
Yeah.
Well, we're talking about Fior di Fossa with these lovely ladies. They co-directed it and co-wrote it. Can you guys just introduce yourselves for our audience?
Yes.
Sure.
You go first.
Okay. Hello, I'm Hallie Smith. As Sophia said, I co-directed, co-wrote, and also co-starred in the film with Lizzie, and also costume designed because apparently I had nothing better to do.
Or a bunch of hats. Thank you, Hallie. And Lizzie?
And yes, hi, I'm Lizzie Sherman. I did almost all the same as Hallie, co-directed, co-wrote, co-starred, and she did all the amazing costumes. We wore many hats because we had to during the pandemic, and it was just an amazing experience for us.
Wow. Well, first off, congratulations to you both for wearing all those hats, doing it successfully, and getting accepted into Garden State Film Festival. Applause for you both.
Thank
You are
you.
terrific in this
Yeah.
film. It's such a unique film, and I'm really excited to have it here at Garden State Film Festival. So, can one of you do the honors of telling our audiences a little bit about the film?
Sure. So Fior di Fossa is a story about two women living in Renaissance Italy. And, women at that time didn't have a lot of rights and tended to face pretty terrible circumstances. And we were interested in seeing how trauma would affect a person and how their coping mechanisms might deteriorate their lives. We were just interested in seeing how both of these women cope with whatever is going on and how they can either come together or how they push each other apart in response to that.
Lovely. So, what was the inspiration for this idea? I mean, you talk about what was inside the film, mental illness and trauma, which is stuff we obviously still relate to today. But then, why did you set it in that time period and that setting? Talk to me a little bit about the inspirations for writing this.
So, a little more backstory. Hallie and I both went to NYU Tisch together, and our last semesters were at Stone Street Studios, which is where we focused on film and TV. We practiced writing there, and we started in class writing together and found that we really loved working together. We helped push each other to get things done, and we created a great collaborative environment for ourselves. And with the help of one of our teachers and mentors, Brian Bear, who's the life force of our production, which we like to say, one of the producers with us and writers. He helped us decide to write this and get it done as quickly as possible, put our dreams to paper. And the dream idea came about. We were walking home from class one day, and in our classes we write down our greatest story ideas, what we would love to be in and act in and create. And Hallie had an idea that, at the time was like, that would be so cool to do, but we can never create a period piece. But her idea sort of came about when we were in class, and she wanted to have sort of a Game of Thrones theme, meets two very strong female characters, and have a lot of tragedy and drama in it that we could really live in and explore. If you have anything else to add, Hallie.
Yeah, well, so that was the idea that popped into my head. And then Lizzie was the one who really suggested like going down the psychological route with like what is going on inside their heads and like how is this affecting them. I just wanted to make costumes from that time period, and that is how we decided.
Oh, amazing. So, what was it like to sink your teeth into these roles? Did you relate to the characters that you played? And what was it like to get in that kind of traumatic, complex mindset that these ladies are in?
It was intense. And, probably the most immersive acting experience. I think think either of us has probably had. It was interesting because we were actually supposed to start filming at the end of August 2020, and then I lost a family member. And so this whole, dealing with grief became very real to me. And like mental illness and all of this stuff became like something that was at the forefront of my mind. And, when we eventually did get to filming, I felt like this weird, what's the word, like kind of immediate dropping in whenever I was thinking about the circumstances. I was like, oh, like, I know what that is. I know what that feels like. I know what it is to be in that space. So it was a weird kind of like life imitates art, art imitates life in this like very tragic, but also very profound way. And I think that loss kind of found its way on set with everyone. Everyone knew what was going on. And we just did our best to honor everything that came with processing that. Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that, Hallie. And I'm so happy that art continues to be a form of an outlet for you to express all of those deep, uncomfortable feelings that we all experience. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Lizzie, what was it like for you to connect to this role?
Yeah, with the loss and grief going on set, it added a whole nother layer. It's hard to connect to somebody in a different time period, but certainly as soon as we had like our gowns on and we had our set visualized, it really helped transport us into that world. And that was a big part of me feeling fully connected to my character. Otherwise, I just found ways to connect into it through what I could understand and, just a lot of the emotionality of the character and what she was going through.
So Lizzie, you mentioned these gowns, and Hallie, you were a costume designer. How did you make these beautiful gowns we see in the film?
I like to joke that it took a year off of my life. But because it was very intense. I worked in a costume shop at NYU for 3 years while studying musical theater and film acting. So I had experience with sewing and making some garments from scratch, but this was kind of a crapshoot. I was like, you know what? I'm going to try it. I'm going to do it. And it took several weeks for each garment. And I just followed.
Wait, you made these gowns by scratch? They were like fabric ones?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Fabric. And then I pulled the tension, made the skirts. Yeah, it was an interesting and very time-consuming, but very rewarding process. I was genuinely still finishing our costumes on set the morning before shooting, pretty much every single day.
Late nights.
And I don't really recommend doing that many things to anyone starting off. But it was a pretty cool experience to see, like the idea originate in my head for what I wanted the gowns to look like, and then wearing them. And then it, like Lizzie said, it really felt like, okay, like you lace your bodice up and you have your trailing skirt and the poofy sleeves, and like, okay, I'm a lady, like
you weren't in it before, you're in it now.
Yes.
Wow. That is insane. Oh, I cannot believe that. I really didn't think you made those by scratch. That's really impressive. I'll be thinking about that all day. Oh my gosh. And Lizzie, I want to talk to you both about this, but Lizzie, what was it like directing yourself? I mean, you two are both the stars in the film and you both directed it. So what was that process like?
Yes. So a lot of it, again, I'll mention our co-creator, Brian. He was in a different state and was going to try to be, like the main director while we were on set, but unfortunately wasn't able to make it with everything COVID going on. So we did a lot of preparation with him, and we, for the most part, focused on directing each other, and then of course came together when we were in scenes together, which is a large portion of it. But it was very interesting. Like we said, it was hard to take off my acting cap and put on a directing cap, and vice versa. It's takes a lot of mental energy and willpower to switch between those two different, types of artistry. It comes out in different ways. So it was a big challenge, but I think we worked through it as best as we could. And we definitely called in our co-creator Brian to help us out in anything that we struggled with. And our director of photography, Mariana Flores, also really helped us be our eyes when we were in the scene.
Right. Wow. I can imagine how difficult that is, not only just wearing both hats, but especially when a role calls for so much emotion and so much out of you. That's exhausting in itself. I can't imagine being like getting out of that and be like, okay, let me see the shot. So that's crazy. Hallie, what was it like for you?
I mean, similar to what Lizzie said, we were lucky to have a couple of other people's thoughts and expertise when it came to directing. When we were first trying to figure out the shot list and everything like that, our DP, Mariano Flores, was really helpful with that. And Brian was great because he is an acting teacher. So as far as directing goes, he can really help us with the acting side of it and not just, the everything else, like the shot and everything. But I really feel like our window into directing was actually through how emotional everything was. We were just kind of empathizing with each other. And, in this weird way, this interesting psychological way, I remember directing Lizzie, and I would just kind of talk her through like, okay, this is what, is happening right now. And, I want you to think about like when the scene where she's in the nursery and she's, experiencing grief and she's at the crib and all of that, I would just talk with her about, okay, like you're never going to hear him cry again. And maybe that's frustrating, but that's also like, you're never going to hear that again. Like we would just talk to each other like people and kind of imprint these thoughts into each other's minds so that we're really actively in the position of our character. And then we would go. And I think that through that, we were able to really create truthful performances. But like Lizzie said, it was kind of weird being like, okay, like I'm kind of crying, but now I'm going to go look at find her and like, okay, are we good looking at the monitor? Yeah, okay, and then go back
into it. Do these roles call for a lot of emotional preparation or rehearsal process?
Emotional preparation, definitely. Luckily, because it's mainly Hallie and I and our other the other actor in it, Chibeze, isn't as in as much as us. So Hallie and I were able to really rehearse as much as we wanted and needed to ahead of time and not being on set, which was helpful, I think, especially since we were going to have to wear a lot of hats the day of. If we didn't have that prep time, I don't know how it would have fared the day of.
Yeah, I think the fact that we had to push back our shoot date, not only was I not ready with the costumes, but also in terms of acting, it gave us more time to delve deeper into the mindset of who we're playing and the experiences that we have to feel like we've gone through in order to be truthful at that place when whichever scene is happening. So yeah, I would say there was a lot of preparation. There was a lot of, imaginative work and just kind of being like, okay, like if I went through this, what is that like? What does that feel like? What does that do to me? How does that change how I act, how I react to other people, stuff like that. We were able to really spend time on that and dive deep. Yeah.
So what would you say is one thing you both learned from this process that you will take to the next project?
I mean, this is sort of a silly one, but like Hallie mentioned too, I don't think we would take on as many roles as we did in this production. Again, sort of silly, but it'll be nice on whatever we work on next moving forward to be able to focus on just like acting in it or writing in it or directing, so we can more fully dive into what those roles look like and mean to us. And we definitely, but I am proud of all the work that we did do for this and all the hats that we were able to wear, and we were successful in the end. We were able to push ourselves through it. But that is my takeaway.
Yeah. How about you, Allie?
It's it's difficult to have just one. And this is our first ever film that we've made, so we've learned a lot of things, and there are a lot of things we would probably do differently. But the main thing I feel like I take away from it is that, like, just start. The fact that we started is kind of crazy, and the fact that we even, like, there were so many things that could have made it so that we didn't finish this. Like, there was a pandemic. We had a COVID scare on set. I lost a family member. Like, there were so many reasons why it would have been easy to say no and, like, to just stop and give up. And we didn't. And I'm like, wow, when you just keep going and keep pushing because you believe in something, you have an idea that you think is worth sharing, or you have a story that you think would move people, would make people feel something, just start and keep going. Just start and don't stop. I feel like that's the main thing that I've taken away from, like, the process as a whole. It's like, yes, there are little things that, like, oh, like, I wish I'd given myself more time for costumes. Wish that, like, we had someone else on set when we were doing, scenes with both of us in it. But at the very end of the day, it's like, we made it, and I've taken from this that I can make something again, and I'm excited about that.
Yes. I mean, I could not congratulate you both enough. Not only did you start it and do it, but it's successful. And I can't wait to see what you guys put out next. Congratulations again. Thank you so much for taking the time out to join us. Let me tell everyone how they can see this film. It will be screening in the Cranford Theater Saturday, March 25th at 10:30 a.m. to 12:45 p.m. So definitely check out that film block. Will you both be at Garden State Film Festival this year?
Yes, you will see both of us there. We're so excited.
Amazing. So you can meet the stars, the directors, the writers. Come check it out. Thank you again so much for joining us today. And congratulations again.
Thanks, Sophia.
Bye.